A reminder, we want you to be a part of the race too, to be a part of the conversation. Send your Twitter messages and use the hashtag V8SC. And a big thanks to a few of you that are local who have pointed out that a potential change of weather is on the way. We're going to take a look at an in-depth forecast for you, but some suggesting that maybe we'll get a storm at some point this afternoon. So will that have an impact on this Clipsal 500, this 2015 edition? Worth taking a look at the stats, I guess you could say, the overview of the race proper. So 25 starters. This first race, 125 kilometres in distance, will reset and do it all again this afternoon. Tomorrow, qualifying, a shootout, and then one 250k enduro. And safety cars, of course, have featured here over time. On average, there have been 2.5 safety car periods in every Clipsal 500 V8 supercar race. Neil Crompton is back with us in commentary. Super stuff, Neil, with Roger Penske, Tim Cindric and the like. Just motor racing royalty here at this event. I mean, it's already a great event, but to have those guys here as well just adds another dimension, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's great to catch up with some old friends down there, and those conversations you could let run on for ages. I mean, the conversation you can have with Roger Penske is just extraordinary, so it is a great pleasure to have them there. You sent me scrambling to my phone just to try and get more of an update on the weather, and from 3:30, between 3:30 and 4 o'clock local time here in South Australia, the wind does pick up from the southwest, and there is the possibility of light showers, cloud scattered at 2,500 feet. So
I knew you'd know.
Yeah, it is. That's interesting, because that's a little update from earlier in the day. So that may be a factor as the afternoon. Well, I tell you, it'll become a welcome relief for the drivers, because it is very, very steamy down there, he says, as he drips his way back into the commentary box.
So that might cool things off, but it could, depending upon how severe it is, if we get that shower, will it turn this circuit into a little bit of an ice skating rink? Look at the crowd to the left of your screen in the grandstand. We'll take a look at the grid for the first race of the year. It's always a special one. Here it is, the Fuso starting grid. Jamie Whincup on pole position. He will do that for not just this race, but also the next one. Well done to Fabian Coulthard. Scott McLaughlin, he scored a front row berth for the second race as well. And James Courtney, Neil, he's been pretty consistent across the qualifying. That's a great job by him.
Yeah, they've been experimenting with front ends in all of the cars. Oh, what's this in the background? There's a major drama here for Scott McLaughlin. And it's actually oil. It's oil that's beneath that car, and that's an oil fire. So he's gone off in his old oil. And for some unbelievable reason, that thing has spat an oil line off, and they've lost an engine, and there's oil all over the place. It's taken our focus away from the Fuso starting grid. But that's an extraordinary thing on a warm-up, and that also means the track condition for the start of this race will be very bad. So car number 33, Scott McLaughlin, look at the oil trail. You can see it for 50, 75 metres behind that car. I couldn't believe the images that I was looking at. I had to double check myself. So much for the Fuso starting grid. But Jamie Whincup is on pole from Fabian Coulthard. Scott McLaughlin, the man on screen, would have started from position number 3.
So drama here before the first race even commences. We go inside the Gary Rogers Motorsport Wilson Security bunker. What a shame.
Damien, we need to abort the start. We need to abort the start. We need to abort the start. We need to have red flags everywhere, please. Red flags.
So race director Tim Schenken has just called aborting the start. He was talking to Damien White. So let's just have a look on the replay. Third car in the queue here, just gently, well, that's a massive oil fire. So look, an oil line has likely popped off. Always hard to diagnose from afar, but it's sprayed oil everywhere, which has momentarily also caught fire. Here's the onboard. Let's listen. So only a very gentle nudge up into the wall, but that's a massive drama for those guys. Hopefully they've extinguished the engine quickly in terms of any fire damage, and also got it switched off in case there's an oil pressure problem there, and then they can get it back, and we see what it all means when they get into the garage and can do an inspection on the vehicle. Damien White, by the way, is actually the starter as well as being a V8 supercar official. So meantime, the fields come back. and the red flag has been thrown. Therefore, the start has been aborted, and we'll go back through a countdown phase to get this race started once again. So they'll clear the car, but they'll also need to manage all of that oil on the racetrack as well.
You could see Scott McLaughlin's shoulders and just his body language as he climbed into the medical car. So disappointed. The Volvo driver starred here last year. It hasn't started right for him in 2015. Hopefully he'll be back for the next race. He's got that second career Clipsal 500 front row start as a result of qualifying yesterday. Top 5 results for McLaughlin in both qualifying sessions, Murph.
Well, you can only use the cliche, that's motor racing. I mean, that is just unbelievable, Gary.
It is, Greg. We really don't know what. I mean, to me, it appeared, and this is only what I've seen on the television, the boys aren't sure yet, but from what you could see, it looked like it either popped an oil line or something, because the smoke and the flame appeared before he actually hit the wall. Now, whether the oil then got under the tyre and he couldn't steer it, I don't know. That's a guess. It could be something totally different. But to put it in blunt terms, it's a bit of a bummer.
Well, there's a lot of pressure on something, whatever it was, oil line or power steering or something, that's fired a lot of fluid very, very quickly to cause the flames and obviously get underneath the steering of the car and send them in the fence. But, I mean, when was the last time you saw something like this?
Well, I think at least Scotty's okay,
yep,
and the car hasn't burnt to the ground. I mean, you've got a chance of recovery here. It'll be up to us to do our best. I mean, very simple.
Very simple.
Prospect of it being something related to power steering is actually a good clue there, because what Scott's doing is he makes his way off the line and heads to the west up Wakefield Street towards turn 4 and up the hill, working the steering very, very hard. And maybe, you can see him shrugging his shoulders there, just maybe that could be related to that end of the car. But I'm sure we'll get a report once they get the car back and do a full diagnosis.
Have to feel for him. He really, after such a great year in 2014, wants to make a mark on this championship. Barry Sheen, medalist last year. Watch this. Good to see him smiling. He's a terrific bloke, great character of the sport, and they have a very good car, so let's hope that it's all good for race 2 for him this afternoon, and he can perhaps fight for a win. Join that conversation. We'd love you to fire in your questions as the race unfolds as well. Hashtag V8SC. It's round 1 of the series. The Clipsal 500. Already the new Lexus RCF safety car. Beautiful car. Debuted at in front of the Australian media at Mount Panorama in recent weeks. And it's terrific to have them a part of the championship in 2015. So everyone resets here, Neil, and that vacant grid spot now, but you've just got to just get those emotions in check once again. We were starting to build up, weren't we? Do it all again.
It'll be an additional formation lap, and this may also impact the race duration, so we'll keep you updated with that as well.
And double check all that. Back with the champion as he keeps cool. So centered and focused. The officials at the track here doing a terrific job to endeavour to get us back underway as quickly as possible. Get some more information from the lane here, Greg.
Yeah, guys, I've got a very obviously disappointed Scott McLaughlin with me. I mean, can you believe the first race of the season you don't even get away on the warm-up lap?
Yeah, hopefully it's not a little omen that we've got going, but man, that sucks. Like, I just warmed my tyres up and I think something happened. It's like I thought it was a radiator hose dropped off or something, but you say there was some flames, so I just got out of there. I thought there was some flames and it was like really bad on my throat and breathing and stuff, so, but feeling good and just gutted for the boys and myself, really.
Obviously, you've got to gather yourself up and hopefully we get the car back and see what the damage is or what the problem was and get it fixed for race 2.
Yeah, look, you know, the boys have done a ripper job and we don't know. They would have picked up on something, so just one of those things, and it's caught everyone out, but, you know, it doesn't put I love a smile, you know me, so I'll just keep pushing on, who cares?
Definitely devastating, but the kid is still hot to trot and hopefully he'll be out for race 2.
Mark Winterbottom, red flags in V8 supercars seem to be happening all too often, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's bizarre. I've never seen a caution flag out on the roll-up lap. It's bizarre, and the car looked like it was a bit of a mess. So yeah, that's bizarre. I've never really seen that before. So we come around and grid up again. It's yeah, kind of bizarre, but thankfully he's okay.
And your race itself, you're probably sitting in a position you'd prefer to be further up the grid.
Yeah, well, I've made a spot up. We haven't started, so if we can keep that ratio up, I'll be going all right. But yeah, I'm not in a position. The car hasn't done what I wanted it to do, I guess, and we'll see. We keep changing, so we'll get it right, whether it's this race, next race, a race this time, who knows, but we'll get it right at some stage. But it's only a little bit, but it adds up to a lot, so we'll keep tuning.
Thanks, Frosty. Good luck.
Cheers.
Safety car heads off. The procedural sequence is well underway. As you can see, just over 4 minutes left until we get back underway again. 2 of the 32 Clipsal races so far in the history of this event have not run to distance due to time certain finishes. Could we be in for the third today? Todd Kelly, he was spectacular through the centre chicane earlier in the weekend. He looked at me and smiled when I caught up with him this morning. He said, yeah, it wasn't ideal. He said, it's not actually as violent in the car as it looks on telly sometimes. Rihanna?
Tim Slade, you boys, you just want to go racing, and it seems we just keep delaying the inevitable.
Sorry, I totally missed that.
That's all right. You're asleep. We're about to start the race at Clipsal. We just want to go racing.
I had the helmet fan going and I couldn't hear a thing, so sorry, repeat. Sorry, Rihanna.
For number 3, Tim, we would like to go racing at some stage today.
Yes, that'd be nice. Although it does feel like it's getting a little bit cooler the longer we wait for the start, so maybe that's not a bad thing.
There is some rain predicted possibly this afternoon, which could certainly change things up a little.
Yeah, I did see that on the radar before I jumped in the car, so plenty of excitement for the punters up in the stands, that's for sure.
Thanks, Tim.
No worries.
Tim Slade there in conversation with Rihanna. Position 13 on the grid, Super Cheap Auto Racing. Had a gear position sensor problem and a shift cut problem with that car in practice earlier in the weekend, and then a little leak in and around the gearbox area as well. They got to the bottom of that, and he's found some good form, and as he pointed out in conversation, it's just astonishingly tight in that mid-pack at the moment. If you can vary to the positive side, your time by even a 1/10 of a second a lap has a huge impact on where you start on this grid. So an aborted start, delayed start there as we go on board there. James Courtney is one of the drivers that we expect to do very, very well here this weekend. Reigning Clipsal 500 champion, but in the transporter just before they went out onto the grid was just talking about the fact that they've had to make a little change to the geometry of the front of their cars. All 4 of the Walkinshaw cars have had that change. They weren't able to continue to use the development part. We're curious to see how that impacts their performance.
Garth Tander, it's going to be a busy afternoon for yourself.
Yeah, got a few cars to pass the Savo, so there's one less I have to pass now. So yeah, look, it'll be an interesting afternoon. Looks like there's a bit of rain coming as well, so that'll spice it up. So yeah, we'll take this car forward for sure.
I'm about to get kicked off the grid. I'll let you go. Thanks, Garth.
Thanks.
We like as fewer cars in front of you as possible at the start of a race, and James Courtney has benefited greatly from Scotty McLaughlin's devastating start to the season. He's now got a grid spot clear in front of him and a clear run up to Jamie Whincup.
February 28, 1993, the current 5-litre V8 rules debuted in the championship at Amaroo Park on this day in Sydney 22 years ago. John Bowe won that round for Dick Johnson Racing. Today, the traditional season opener is on the streets of Adelaide. So we've gone through a reset. We'll hopefully get going this time around.
So we're just on 1 minute away now.
1 minute, signal 1 minute.
Michael Caruso. Nice job from him in qualifying to stick that Nissan Altima in position number 6. This is Marcus Ambrose.
Small car with you, right now.
Will Davison, car number 9. Had a quick chat with him on the grid a little earlier.
And firing up there. 30 seconds. Signal.
They're all going to have to respect that oil at the end of Wakefield Street and have a very close look at what that means, because what happens after the start frequently is you find that you're up there sometimes 2 and 3 wide, and you may not even choose to be on the dirty side of the road up there. You might be forced into that position. If you do end up there, you're going to have to tread very, very gently, because if there's still some oil or all that oil soak on the road up there, that'll be a drama.
As drivers, they'll take that in on this lap here, but I guess also the good engineers will remind them too, won't they?
They will. Caruso starting grid. Let's have a look at it now once again. And for this particular one, it was the 62nd career pole and 6th for the Clipsal 500 for Jamie Whincup. Awesome performance, and a personal best at Clipsal for Fabian Coulthard. Personal best also for Chaz Mostert. James Courtney, we spoke about him alongside Michael Caruso, Lee Holdsworth and Craig Lowndes. And Lee Holdsworth buoyed by the performance of that car this weekend.
He's been very consistent right across, hasn't he? Just from the moment it rolled out of the transport, has been pretty comfortable. Van Gisbergen feels like as things progress, as we get into that second race of the day, he will become a factor. Tander, bit of contrast to his teammate James Courtney's qualifying performance, but he feels like he can move forward here. Rick Kelly was strong in practice. It didn't translate when they put on that fresher, greener rubber when it came to qualifying. Dale Wood, they've had some issues to contend with in that car as well. David Wall, just growing in confidence in the car. They know that what Scott McLaughlin runs as a baseline is very, very good with that Volvo. And he said a bit more's just got to come from the driver, particularly through turns 1 and 2.
You made reference to Garth Tander a moment ago, position 15 on the grid for the Holden Racing team. Temperature's been his bugbear this weekend. The ride and balance of the car are actually to his satisfaction. It just doesn't have the grip that he's looking for. So if the temperature does lower, chances are that car will come into phase a little more. So we'll keep an eye out and see whether or not Garth can make some progress. There's Tim Slade. In the foreground here is James Courtney, behind him Michael Caruso, then Lee Holdsworth, car number 18, Charlie Schwerkolt Racing, Craig Lowndes, Jason Bright, who went perilously close to threatening that pole for Jamie Whincup yesterday. That was a big story. Little mistake at the final corner, and then in the other qualifying session, he just brushed the wall and that hurt. The evergreen, Craig Lowndes, every time you go behind their pit in the Adelaide paddock, it's just knee-deep in fans who are wanting to spend a moment with him. He's a very popular character and he loves to share his motor racing passion.
He's awesome like that too, very giving with his time in that regard. And the fans here in Adelaide really do appreciate their motorsport. They love this event and have been very vocal when it's come to all of the categories that we've had here. But now, as we look at the amended race stats now, only 24 starters following Scott McLaughlin's troubles. He's out of this one, hoping they can repair that Volvo for race 2. One race win for Jamie Whincup today would tie him with Mark Scaife for second on the all-time Australian Touring Car Championship and V8 Supercar Championship win list with 90.
Last car is in it.
But there are 23 other guys in this field right now who want to claim it. Set to go. 2015 is underway. Good start by Fabian Coulthard, but it looks like Jamie Whincup may just have his measure. Look at David Reynolds. Whincup leads them through the chicane for the first time. Nice work, Michael Caruso. Bit of argy-barge behind there, the super black entry, battling with, I think it was David Wall. Marcus Ambrose trying to come through as well. Look at that. Ash Walsh trying to arrest, or was it Will Davison, I think, trying to arrest that Mercedes Erebus entry. Oh, sideways. Ash Walsh.
Quite a number of drivers had to tackle the track limits and their extremes over the turn 2 curbing there. About 7 or 8 drivers actually had to virtually straight line it. But they get erased. They're not counted as curb breaches until we get into the proper rhythm of the race. Mostert just covering slightly. Under brakes into turn 9. David Reynolds on the inside here of Jason Bright. Bright will try and run with him, and that'll force David wide through the next left-hander at 10.
Had a chat with him overnight, was pretty buoyed by the fact that he'd scored in one of the qualifying sessions a PB here for the Clipsal 500. He looks racy. His new engineering partnership, he says, is working well. So Jamie Whincup completes Davison and leads the field in the Clipsal 500. Race 1 of 2 here today. In the background there, Tander just looking for an opportunity with David Reynolds. Tim Slade behind him.
So it's now 0.4 of a second between Whincup and Coulthard. So Fabian's just picked up the tempo a little bit in the last several corners and just tucking under the rear wing of Whincup's car here. Lowndes just looking for fresh air and also covering Lee Holdsworth back in 6th position.
Mostert's been strong,
in the wall. There was somebody rubbed the wall there.
Caruso.
And it was Caruso. No, it was Moffat, 99. So Moffat actually whacked the wall down there. He's gathered it up. He'll have to tread gently for the next several hundred metres just to make sure that everything's steady underneath that car. So just ran wide down at 9 after that. You just see him in the background there and it wandered wide. Nothing obvious on the car, but it did whack the wall.
That's amazing. It's been brutal on a number of drivers in the support categories today. Nick Foster in the Carrera Cup, one of the SLS Mercedes Erebus entries. As we take a look at the start again.
So the overhead shows you that Jamie got a very, very good jump. The secondary phase of the start was good for Fabian and he nearly made a nuisance of himself up the inside at 1, but if you stay there, it just ends up messy for all. So he lifted, fanned the throttle and allowed Jamie to sneak on by. So this is not a bad start here for Winterbottom, who's also made some ground just in the last couple of laps. So he's up to 7th place.
Here's the brush. It was more than a brush, wasn't it?
Left rear made pretty substantial contact. So just note that in your diary because later in the race I'll just need to be very careful there. And the slow-mo replay shows that it actually shifted the concrete block. And that may have implications when it comes to the pit stop as well, because it could damage the wheel nut. So Ambrose has shuffled up now to 18th position, so he did a good job just in those early half dozen corners or so at the start of the race. He actually made immediate ground.
A couple of good sectors popping up for Fabian Coulthard. That's Michael Caruso. It's the other entry, not the 99. Look at that left front. Oh, what a shame. Both of these guys in the 10 in qualifying, James Moffat and Michael Caruso. What's happened there, I wonder? Here he is, lock up. That's post the incident, is it? Back with our leaders and Mostert trying to close in on Fabian Coulthard. 0.7 between Whincup and Coulthard. Holdsworth loving being back in a Holden once again. Great partnership with Charlie Schwerkolten. They're in the Walkinshaw umbrella there. Practice is a little tricky for them. The tyres they need to use are attached to the licence with that car, so they've come from elsewhere. Not a great bank of used rubber for them. That's the 23 of Caruso.
Puncture, mate. Puncture. So what we'll do now, we'll just stay out, just circulate to the end and just do tyres at the end of the race, mate. If we attract me, I'll give you an update of when the leaders are actually.
So we're standing by also here for this batch of cars to come in. The requirement is that you've got to make a compulsory stop in this race and change a minimum of 2 wheels and tyres. It's right on the cusp for fuel. So while the car's stationary, they'll squirt about 3 or 4 seconds of fuel in at a rate of 3.7 seconds of United E85 into the car, so vaguely 15 odd litres of fuel. But really the fuel's not the story, it's just the tyre change. And that stops everybody from also just running engines crazy lean to try and get them to the end of the race. So Lowndes is done, Winterbottom is done. This is Shane Van Gisbergen. Meantime, Whincup leads the race from Mostert, who's got good pace, by the way.
I haven't got commentary.
Let's go to the lane, Greg Murphy.
Yeah, guys, well, I was looking at Michael Caruso's car. He had damaged to the left front guard there and the front splitter. So I reckon he's hit some tyres somewhere, but it's unusual for it to create a puncture like that so quickly. So devastating for those guys. Obviously, we saw Moff also touching the wall, but two separate things for the two cars in the Nissan Motorsport garage.
He had trouble, Greg, pulling it up at turn 3, so maybe the bundle through the centre chicane. Would have to see if we can spot that. We ride in the 23. That was car 10 at the test, but now running number 23, Michael Caruso.
Down at turn 1, if you cut it too fine down there, it's possible just to grab the front guard or tyre just 50 metres back from where we are there at the moment. And this is where we saw him lock up and fly off the road. In that sequence of stops, by the way, Coulthard benefited from very efficient pit work, and the in and the out and the stationary time was impressive. He was 4/10 quicker than Craig Lowndes, and Coulthard was the fastest. Now his teammate on screen here, Jason Bright. Meantime, Whincup and Davison have both got curb strikes against their name. Problem there for Dale Wood. They're having trouble getting that wheel rattled on and off. Bright's lost some ground there, has he? That was Van Gisbergen sneaking through.
The overhead shot of the replay of the start before showed how well David Reynolds did at the start, managing to get ahead of Shane Van Gisbergen. That then changed in the ensuing laps, and Van Gisbergen, they pitted at the same time, was able to stay in front of him and keep ahead as they've rejoined the action. Bright now splits the pair.
They made a little change on David's car between qualifying sessions yesterday, and in the second session it smartened it up, so he's got a little bit more of a smile on his dial at the moment because that car's more to his liking. We're on board here with Whincup, who now peels off. He's got to get that speed right back down, get the pit limiter engaged, 40 kilometres an hour, very low percentage throttle.
Got you there, mate. Bring your tires only going on. A little bit of fuel. Nice lead in here, mate, so make sure we use it, eh? It's going to be very quick, mate. Only a few seconds.
It's just a simple stop for rears only, a little squirt of fuel, and the fuel is directly linked to how long the car's stationary for the wheels and tyres. They're not really worried about how long it's coupled, it's just enough to make sure that they're easily covered for fuel, which they are, and easily covered as the margin from first to second is what we were focused on there. So Whincup versus Coulthard was the thing. It leaves Chaz Mostert in the lead of the race at the moment.
Take a look at the leaderboard there to your left. Holdsworth, 3rd, Moffat, 4th. Riding with Mostert. He's been spectacular to watch here on the streets of Adelaide.
It's going to be tight on the exit.
And now he peels in, Mostert. Some good sectors as he endeavoured to make ground on the in-lap. Let's listen.
James is in good shape here. Holdsworth is now the leader of the race. It's a very different look on the front of those FGX Falcons for this year. Battle of the teams. Nice job by ProDrive Racing. It's a slow one. Right rear was snaggy for Courtney.
The 22 is still there. What a shame. Mostert gets in ahead of the Freightliner entry of Fabian Coulthard. Nice work by the Pepsi Max crew. So it's on for second place. Hard break for the 22. James Courtney. That's cost a mammoth amount of time.
So Mostert was 4/10 faster in his stop than Whincup, and he was 2/10 faster in his stop than Coulthard, and that's the reason why he's now the meat and the sandwich, the reason why he's jumped into the game. That's the Ferrari team watching some V8 supercar action.
Yeah, Jean-Eric Verne is here doing some laps in a Ferrari, former Toro Rosso driver. And he's been wandering up and down the lane during the V8 supercar sessions, really soaking it in as well. He's quite enjoyed the main game here.
So a couple more drivers have transgressed with these curb hops as well. Ash Walsh, who's up into 5th at the moment, and Andre Heimgartner, who's 20th. have also got a curb strike. So they join Will Davison, and David Reynolds has got one as well. So 5 drivers so far. Just got to be very careful as they respect that track limit as the race wears on. So Whitcup's got a little cushion at the moment. He's the first car in the field that has stopped. Meantime, the leader of the race yet to stop is Holdsworth. Tander is also running longer, as is Tim Slade, Will Davison, Ash Walsh. So 5 cars yet to do their compulsory stop. We're riding with Todd Kelly at turn 4. It's the right-hander now at turn 6. So all these second gear corners, you can hear the car just completely runs out of breath. It's fully rev limited at that point. This is off 7. Little chance to think now. Pull higher gears and momentarily relax. 240 kilometres an hour on good tyres and good track condition. A little brake and a brush of the brake pedal just to load the nose, and then through that very fast and exciting turn 8. And the brakes get another very big hit then, flaring up to around about 800 degrees for the big stop down at turn 9 in the hairpin. Now Tander is in from position number 4. That was nice. However, his teammate James Courtney, he got buried as a result of that stop. They're going to come out pretty much wrestling each other, because that's James in the background.
So 22 again.
It was actually on the other side where the problem was. The right rear is having real trouble. Gun was jammed, and it was the delay in actually getting that wheel off that cost them.
So you can look at the response from the crew. They're so frustrated. We jump aboard Will Davison's Mercedes.
Position 3, still to stop. And his teammate Ash Walsh hasn't stopped, so 4 drivers in the race yet to do their CPS. It's a great run out of 9. The cars really bite and accelerate hard through that little kink at 10. And then it's all about trying to just manage the brakes to get the car stopped sufficiently to get it through 11, but keep your rolling speed up. It's a great little bit of racetrack, and now here's Lee Holdsworth in from the lead of the race.
Great view from the roof too, those new hamburger cams. You can see it there as Holdsworth pulls in. Gets it done, the 18 leaves the lane. Where does it leave him? May just get in here as Lee Holdsworth rejoins. Behind car 5, Mark Winterbottom. Winterbottom 8th.
Just on that last lap, Jamie Whincup has just set the fastest lap of the race, a 1 minute 21.7 in very hot conditions. Lap number 10. That's an impressive performance, particularly given that it's now a few laps since he actually came in and grabbed those tyres. So as they phase in, find the right temperature and pressure, and the fuel load just comes down slightly, Jamie's looking racy.
Hey, Brett Jones, that stop of Fabian's didn't look too bad at all, but he managed to slot in behind Mostert.
Yeah, it's always a difficult call. Mostert's very fast. I think we might have put a fraction too much fuel in our car. I don't even know if the Falcon put any fuel in. So I didn't think the stop was probably quite as slick as it needed to be. And we should have done another lap, really. We probably stopped the lap early, but you don't really know what's going to happen until it all starts. But it looks like he's got it sorted out now. We just need to, stay in a podium position.
Yeah, it's really hard to make the call based on, not knowing what everyone else is doing.
Absolutely, and with the red flag at the start, it's hard to know whether the rate length is going to change too much or not. So a lap is, 3 litres of juice, and that's a second of time. So it's always hard to make the right call.
Still a few laps to go.
And on the topic of stops, Coulthard was 0.4 of a second quicker over Craig Lowndes. And then Chaz Mostert was a little bit quicker than both Jamie Whincup and Fabian Coulthard, and it was a couple of tenths of a second. It was all that was required to jam in and actually take that track position, so that's what made the difference.
Just on the BJR team, 100th round with Holden. Fabs maybe on target for the team's second ever Clipsal podium. First since 2008 it would be. Cameron McConville in what was then its debut weekend for the Holden side of things with Brad Jones Racing. Great stuff here as we watch Ash Walsh. He's been successful in the Dunlop Series, has stepped up. They signed him toward the end of last season, Ryan Madison and the crew there. And they've just been It's been about acclimatisation for him, just getting him comfortable in this car.
So 2 drivers in the field yet to stop. Tim Slade, Will Davison. There's 5.4 seconds between them. And here is the race leader, Tim Slade, in now for his compulsory stop.
Okay, Tim, I got you, mate. You got a nice clear run in, so you're going to wait for me. Resizing for you, it's going to be quick and easy. Waiting. Okay, mate, bring it over. Yep. Keep coming. Yep, keep coming. Keep coming. Come, stop. Yep. It's going to be clear, mate. It's going to be clear. Go. Yep.
Jason Bush is engineering him, and that's a partnership that's working out pretty well. Those guys very comfortable with each other. So he drops back in. It's a little gaggle of Walkinshaw racing cars, so he's going to slot in behind James Courtney, who in turn is mixed up there with Garth Tander. James Moffat just behind. Tim Blanchard, meantime, has got a curb strike. So Will Davison's the Lone Ranger. He's the only driver in the field at the moment that hasn't actually taken that compulsory stop. He's got a 4.2 second lead over Jamie Whincup. And Jamie's got now a reasonable little cushion over Chaz Mostert and Fabian Coulthard. Craig Lowndes is just behind them.
I want to hear it again, but it did sound like a big rev on the downshift from Slade as he came into the pit lane, but he's rejoined just outside the top 10 as we continue to watch Shane Van Gisbergen chasing Lee Holdsworth for 7th position.
They had a slow stop. Car 97 on screen there at the moment. The Darrell Lee entry. Techno Autosports Van Gisbergen just tucked in behind Lee Holdsworth. So 7th and 8th. And that'll correct after Will Davison takes his compulsory stop. So really good work by ProDrive Racing and the Pepsi Max crew to get Chaz Mostert in and out. They basically took time off everybody. They might have hedged against the fact that duration of the race alters when you throw the red at the beginning. But most people are timing their fuel off tyres anyway, so they probably just did a very good tyre stop. And the other thing that you've got to factor into those numbers when we start to talk about numbers is the in-out phase of the lap as well. Craig Lowndes, meantime, has got a curb strike against his name. Everybody that's in that club, by the way, still only got single digits. There's about 8 or 9 drivers now that have got a curb strike, so we'll monitor those for you. Once they get to breach number 3, next time round they can tour the pit lane. Let's ride on board now and enjoy a hot lap at the Adelaide Parklands. Todd Kelly in pursuit there of David Reynolds, former teammates. So car number 7 we were riding with is in 15th position at the moment. Will Davison is yet to stop. New colours on Todd's car this weekend with support from Pilatus Swiss aircraft manufacturer, and their head office is based here in Adelaide. It's a short-term arrangement. We see their aircraft with the roulettes and doing stunts overhead, hopefully when the chopper's not up there like it is now. And Todd's actually just done an endorsement. He loves flying. It's one of his passions when he needs to get away from the workshop and driving the race car. He's just done an endorsement to fly one of those very fancy machines. So Will Davison now comes in from the lead of the race. Gets that car speed just right.
Please, right on the mark. Pit lane all to ourselves.
And guys, some technology that Erebus Motorsport V8 are using this weekend is pretty spectacular. They have got the Hexoskin body metrics technology that is worn by their crew chief, Ben Croak. Have a look at some of the numbers. 128 beats per minute, the RPM. It shows the litres per minute that Ben's breathing. And I might just tap the screen here. And there we go. It shows the his breathing just done. So Ben's just been part of 2 pit stops, and it's pretty flashy stuff. They use this sort of technology in NASA, so here we are using in V8 Supercars. Pretty trick.
Scary if there's any sort of dropout on the signal and that goes flatline, though. We'll have to go down there and shake Ben back to life. That's great, isn't it? Pretty amazing. And all that is the sum of all parts. The crew makes such a monstrous contribution to your performance over the weekend. And it's all part of trying to put together a result. Massive amount of time's gone into these cars and into the new season effort since the last time that they raced. So Whincup is in the lead. Let's just have a look at the situation now that it's distilled. It's 1.6 seconds between Whincup and Mostert. It's a further 2.5 seconds back to Coulthard. Can't get enough of that shot at turn 8. It's fantastic. And then we've got Lowndes, Winterbottom, Holdsworth, Van Gisbergen, Tander, Courtney. Courtney suffered from that stop. Van Gisbergen didn't have a brilliant stop either. Tim Slade's next in the queue. And that just sorts out our top 10. James Moffat just behind them.
Todd Kelly made an adjustment on the bars before as they came on the start, finished straight. It's such a busy lap here. You get very little opportunity to do that, and you've got to do it right, don't you?
There's absolutely no chance of relaxing out there at the moment. I mean, even the tiny little breather you get between turns 7 and 8 is just exactly that. It's tiny. Thermocam there in the background, and I don't need a lot of analysis of that because it's simply hot.
21.744. Best lap for Jamie Whincup. He enjoys a 1.9 second advantage over Mostert, Fabian Coulthard third, and Craig Lowndes. Both those Red Bull entries are in the top 5. Both Pro Drive Racing Australia entries are in the top 5, and it's an excellent job being done by Lee Holdsworth in the 10 on his return to Holden. Ambrose getting a little wild through the first chicane. Catches it on the landing.
And he'll be fine. The more kilometres that Marcus does, the better off you'll be. He's 18th at the moment. He's chasing this man. The gap, incidentally, between Jamie on screen and Marcus is sitting at 29 seconds, and they're working the 18th lap of this encounter. It doesn't sound like a lot of time until you have to go and find it. Just want to look at the winners and losers so far in this whole process as well. Craig Lowndes has made good ground, so he's made 4 positions to get up into 4th spot. Mark Winterbottom's proving that he's got a better race car than qualifying car because he's made 7 spots. He's up to 5th. Garth Tander, we always know his point-to-point racing is impeccable. He's made good ground as well. James Courtney lost 4 spots, not his own doing. Will Davison's made 5 spots, and Marcus Ambrose has made 6 spots. So it gives you a bit of an idea as to who's where in the queue here. We're getting a bird's eye view of precisely how David Reynolds' car is behaving at the moment and how David's driving it. You get a full analysis of that car. So there's a fair bit of action queuing up here as well because Todd and Rick Kelly are the opponents just behind. And Rick, when they put brand new tyres on yesterday in qualifying, found that the car had too much turn-in oversteer. So right here, as he starts to change the direction of the car, the back of it disconnects and begins to slide. It's a little bit frightening if there's too much of it going on. Here we are inside the Nissan Motorsport and Jack Daniels Racing bunker. And meantime, a bit of bumper action between Todd and Davey down at turn 9. So he just gave Reynolds a little touch up through the hairpin.
Just want to revisit your story that you drew everyone's attention to before as well. The 99, James Moffat, just outside the top 10 at the moment. So given the brush, more than a brush with a wall, he's actually managed to recover reasonably well.
He's done very well. And I was concerned that when we've seen the cars rubbing up against concrete walls in the past, sometimes that can have an effect on the hub and the wheel nut, and they can't then do the stop. And we've done races like this one here where they've had to stay with one particular wheel on the car for the duration. So normally you can't hit it that hard without some after effect. Lee Holdsworth, meantime, in 6th position, is doing very quick sector splits at the moment. Here's the replay. So he's being shot at by the Kellys left and right at the moment, and it was Todd that just gave him a little tick up. And through the hairpin down at turn 9, slowest corner on the track at 60 kilometres an hour. Todd left his business card there for David.
Just quickly, we'll focus on Lee Holdsworth here, but a curb strike for the guy who was following that group we just saw. Will Davison, hungry. The incentive is to catch Rick and Todd. And he got a curb strike as he went through turn 2 last time around. Also Dale Wood in the 21.
It's a good pace here from Lee Holdsworth deep in the race on screen, and Ryan Walkinshaw owns the team that provides the vehicle, and the man on the right, Charlie Schwerkolt, owns the car, pays Ryan Walkinshaw and pays Lee Holdsworth to go and make the action that we're talking about there at the moment. So he'll be very happy with that. It's a good performance. He's just behind Mark Winterbottom. He's really pumped up about the behaviour of the car. He said this morning that feels like his old GRM, Gary Rogers Motorsport car. As soon as he got back in it, I felt comfortable. He actually just copped the curb strike, so I can't talk his stock up too much at the moment. But very happy with it on older tyres. Wasn't quite as happy with the car on brand spanking new tyres, but he's proving in the race that the old tyre balance and grip levels of the car are actually pretty good there at the moment. And he's getting on very well with Alex Somerset, his engineer. This is the overhead of the battle pack at the moment. It's Reynolds, then Todd Kelly, Rick Kelly, and then immediately behind Rick Kelly, you got Will Davison in this game, and he was the leader there briefly, but he was the last man to stop.
He's got 2 curb strikes, so too does Andre Heimgartner, and 2 for Ash Walsh, teammate to Will Davison there at Erebus Motorsport. So we watch that battle at the head of it. David Reynolds in 13th position, Todd 14th, Rick 15th. But the race being led by Whincup, just over 2 seconds. The gap to Chaz Mostert, the Pepsi Max crew racer. And then Fabian Coulthard.
So Coulthard, who's in 3rd place at the moment, and he's 5.5 seconds from the lead of the race with a 3.5 second gap to Mostert, is complaining that understeer is creeping into the car. It's beginning to hurt the front of the car too much. It's not responding to his turn input.
So Nick Percat is actually starting to close in on this group of 4, which includes Reynolds, the Kelly brothers, and Will Davison. We could see him in the background there a moment ago in the 222. He's had a mixed weekend so far, hasn't he?
Percat's done a nice job, though. Qualified in 20th position, had a yak to him on the grid down there before, and he's making ground, and it'll take a little bit of time to settle into that team. But this is a nice bit of pressure resistance from David Reynolds at the moment. He's got Todd Kelly really sweating on him, and so far, he hasn't fumbled the ball.
Guys, the boys are working feverishly down here at the Gary Rogers Motorsport Garage. Scott McLaughlin, have you had a chance to talk to the guys and see exactly what happened on that first lap?
Yeah, I think the oil pump's gone on it, and yeah, it's just dropped a heap of oil on the rear tyres and made me go everywhere. So that's what caused a little bit of fire. I thought it was coolant, but obviously it's not flammable. So just one of those things. But yeah, I was trying to run around and get a fire extinguisher, and I just couldn't. Yeah. I just want to get back out there.
Is the car going to be okay for the second race?
Yeah, I think so. The boys always work hard. These guys have pumped an engine out in 15 minutes, so I'm not worried at all. But just gutted for our fans, our new sponsors, Wilson Security and Pace. It's just sucks. It's just not cool.
Thanks, Scotty.
Yeah, thank you.
Charlie Schwerkolt down here in the WR pit, car owner for 18, Lee Holdsworth. How good's this, mate? Inside the top 10 in the first race. Lee doing a great job too.
Yeah, he's doing a fantastic job. He feels really comfortable in the car, so he's pumped at the moment. He's quick, so yeah, early days, but
yeah, firing in some really good sectors. I mean, talking to him earlier, he's got a great smile on his face at the moment.
Yeah, no, really pumped. He's doing an awesome job. So.
And you've got a smile too.
Absolutely, needed one. Thank you.
Will Davison's on the radio at the moment just complaining about the behaviour of the car. We're focused on Lee Holdsworth in position 6, who incidentally on this very lap, his mid-sector has been a personal best, but Winterbottom's just done the fastest sector of the race, and all of a sudden sector 2's got quicker. So that tells me that turn 8 is beginning to rubber up a little bit. The track's starting to turn into a much more of the racetrack that we know and understand. So one of the issues is you've got to be a little bit careful that you don't chase the car in early practice and even early qualifying and set it for a racetrack that changes dramatically. Oh. So a lot of people are making pace in the mid-sector at the moment. It is, I feel like that sometimes too.
It's Lee Holdsworth's daughter. She should be happy. Stay awake. Dad's doing a great job. Great job.
Yeah, that was Ava. She's proud of her dad. no doubt, who is doing a terrific job. So Winterbottom, again, just reiterating that point that he was the fastest man in the mid-sector. Lee Holdsworth done a personal best in the mid-sector, and so is Will Davison, which is contrary to what he was saying on the radio, because it feels like it wants to plough straight into the wall at turn 8, and then he just punches out a personal best. Todd Kelly's got a curb strike on this lap. That's his second. And the leader of that pack at the moment is Andre Heimgartner, the 19-year-old in position 19. He's got 3. Other people in double digits include Todd Kelly, Will Davison and Ash Walsh. Everybody else is in single figures.
Andre had been looking at a lot of the data.
For car 111, car 111, overuse of the turn 2 curb.
So that's the headmaster's warning that bad sportsmanship flag will be shown to Andre as he tries to learn and understand those track limits, and if it happens again, then he'll get to 2 of the pit lane.
He'd been looking at a lot of the data from his Pro Drive Racing Australia stablemates, and the key deficit he felt was through those opening few turns, up to 3, if he could make ground there. So he's clearly been attacking the centre chicane. As we go back to the 22, if you've just joined us, it was a tough one. James Courtney qualified so well, but it was a frustratingly slow pit stop when there was trouble for that right rear tyre, and it cost a heap of time.
Another couple of drivers have done personal best in the mid-sector as well. Dale Wood and James Courtney are quick on this lap. It's interesting, so just so you understand, this sector 2, as you see the weather there from the southwest, which is the prevailing wind direction at the moment, between turns 6 and 7 at the western end of the racetrack is where sector 2 begins, and it ends in the braking area at turn 9. In other words, it's only 2 corners, and the corner that has the most influence on the stopwatch is turn 8, so it's getting quicker and quicker as it rubbers up at turn 8. So this is the run between 7 and 8 that I'm talking about. We're riding with Tim Slade.
Mega fit, Tim Slade.
Todd Kelly's also going to get this bad sportsmanship flag. He's just moved his budget along to 3 for the curb strikes. So the next one for him will also involve a penalty. Back with Tim Slade, second gear, left hand at turn 11. It's 150 kilometres an hour on the approach there, and you've got to take quite a bit of pace out of the car. 85 kilometres an hour. Down into this final corner. It's one of the trickiest corners in Australasian motorsport because of the extreme pace on the way in at 200 kilometres an hour, and you've got to get the car to change direction, slow down, and down to a target speed of just 60 kilometres an hour at the final corner.
Some smoke there under brakes for the 5, Mark Winterbottom, as he rode those bumps up into 3. His teammate doing a terrific job at the moment. He's 2.9 seconds behind Jamie Whincup, our race leader. But these guys have come out of the blocks with the brand new FGX. They've started very well. Debuted at the test, and they've gone on with it at what is a very different venue. Look at it, yeah.
That's concerning. So that's as a result of a little bit of the front splitter pushed back on the tyre. Just hope that doesn't rub too much on Frosty's car. That's going to turn into a real drama for him. So he's in 5th place at the moment in car number 5. So it's Holden, Ford, Holden, Ford in the top 5. And it's 2.9 seconds gap first to second.
So was it 5 that hit the tyre bundle there?
There's a chance he's grabbed the tyre bundle down there at turn 1, which is a popular theme over the years. This is Lowndes, there's Frosty, Lee Holdsworth. Lee will be seeing all that going on in front of him at the moment. In the meantime, they'll be on the phone to Frosty, and it's a distraction when someone then alerts you to an issue with the car, but you need to know about it because you might need to modify the way in which you're driving the car, and that means when he leans on it at turn 8 at very high speed, you're going to be a little bit concerned about its behaviour.
Particularly with 13 laps remaining.
This is looking from the rear bumper of Frosty's car, and there's a bit of junk just popped out beneath. I think it's part of the inner guard from the front of the car.
Yeah, the boys down here at Pro Drive Racing Australia are in deep conversations. Chris O'Toole, they're all looking at the front bar. Tim Edwards, they're having conversation as to whether it is worth bringing Frosty in or leaving him out. There is no decision has been made just yet.
Hey fellas, down here with Adrian Burgess. Adrian, that first stop for James was a bit costly, and he's just having a bit of a struggle by the looks of it going with the lap times at the moment.
Yeah, look, he's not comfortable out there. Yeah, clearly we wasted a bit of time. We couldn't get the nut off. Whether he's grazed it on the wall or it's moved in the tightening procedure, we're not sure. But look, he's struggling a little bit. Look, it's early days. Obviously, it's race 1 of the year. We've got 4 cars in the 10. Unfortunately, at the moment, they're at the bottom end of the 10. We want to be having 4 cars at the front, but long way to go yet.
James said today the time for excuses was done. They've got to get on with being regular winners and winning championships again at the Holden Racing team. He stays ahead of his teammate Tim Slade for now. Slade in 10th. Curb strike for Shane van Gisbergen. He now has 2 to his tally.
James Courtney in the distance there. See Tim using the opportunity just to relax. Oh, big lunge by Lee Holdsworth on Mark Winterbottom. That almost ended up in contact. Van Gisbergen might be the beneficiary if there's too much of all that. And Shane's got that second curb strike against his name on this lap.
How much is Holdsworth relishing this? He's loving being with this organisation and being back in a Holden. He really has the eyes on for some success in this championship. Had a good run at Winton last year, but a change of team in 2015, and he's inspired.
Chaz Mostert in second position's just grabbed a curb strike as well. And he can afford that now at this end of the race. Can dip into that bank slightly. This also gives us an understanding of the relative behaviour of all the cars in this little queue. Here's the replay of what happened in the braking area down at turn 9. So Lee had a big, long think about trying to get down there, and in the end it wasn't able to be done. Locked the rear brakes in the process, but Mark Winterbottom saw him, left space in case it could be done. It was actually well managed by both drivers. This is Slade on Courtney. You heard Adrian Burgess say a few moments ago that he's not entirely happy with this car. You can see that it's certainly not to his satisfaction. 12 months ago, winning on the Sunday, and the car obviously doesn't look like it's quite in the same window relative to last year at the moment. Now, Bright's also picked up a curb strike. That's his first. So it's Whincup, Mostert, Coulthard, Lowndes. Then Winterbottom, Holdsworth, Van Gisbergen, Tander, Slade, Courtney.
If you're a Marcus Ambrose fan, he's 18th after starting nearly last in this field. And they're targeting a finish at least if they can. Oh, Roland Dane a bit unhappy with perhaps the noise. Yeah, so they've obviously been warming up the Formula One car next door in anticipation of some demonstration laps on the streets of Adelaide here. They're focused on the race, the noise of the Formula One car, it would seem. Maybe. He seemed fine up there, didn't he? Not sure what that was about.
Yeah, that wasn't happy Roland, that one. But
do you know the many Rolands?
I do. But it's a noisy environment. I just wonder whether there's something else that they've got there that, I mean, they massively lay out those cars, but whether there's some other electrical interference or something that might be just impacting their telemetry, or the big chance that it might be a little more technical than just noise. So any RF interference when they switch things on that might impact the Red Bull Racing garage, that would have Roland come jumping out of his little seat.
Formula One doesn't have much of that, does it?
Lowndes got another curb strike and a problem here for Will Davison. Coasting.
Move on. I just turned off over the turn 2 curve.
Drama for Will Davison.
I just heard him say that it turned off over the turn 2 curb, so it's rolled all the way up the hill there, and now he's out of business.
Oh, and his teammates involved in drama here too with Andre Heimgartner, both the Erebus Motorsport entries. So that's at 9, the 2 rookies together. And in the meantime, they're trying to get Will to do some diagnosis, some electrical work. As Dale Wood looks down the inside of the 111.
Car forward some flags.
So that's how it started for Heimgartner, and poor Walsh, nowhere to go.
Yeah, that's Ash unfortunately just happened to be the wrong person in the wrong place at the wrong time. So Dale Wood having a look down the inside of Andre Heimgartner. Jason Barguana, the driving standards observer, will have a long, hard look at that.
Safety car boards on display and yellow flags waving on the start-finish straight. Heimgartner, as a result of that damage, some tyre smoke coming from the 111. Rihanna?
Yeah, just to clear up that Roland Dane, he was unhappy with the noise purely because his engineers couldn't understand and hear their drivers, and it just simply was too loud for them.
Wow. Yeah, they are noise. So they go through a whole
procedure, don't they?
Procedure in the, cycling up temperatures and pressures in those engines, and they certainly would have got their attention.
So unable to source the issue and perhaps restart it. Day's done, at least race 1. Hope that entry can get back out for race 2.
Well, it never rains, but it pours. Ryan Madison, both your Erebus Motorsport V8s. Have you got any idea of what happened to Will Davison's car?
Not yet. He just said it's gone dead, no power. He said something physically switched off. So we've asked him to cycle the ignition, set things like circuit breakers, etc. But obviously no damage whatsoever. But for some reason it shut down.
And then obviously seeing Ash get caught up in someone else's accident.
Yeah, correct. Obviously he was tailing Charlie there, came in. Heimgartner has already spun around in front of him, so he was a passenger in that one.
Bad luck, good luck for race 2.
Thanks a lot.
Had a trouble-free weekend up until that point.
They'll have to get him in and deal with this. That's what they're talking to him about at the moment. Otherwise it'll pop that tyre and a small problem will become a big one in a hurry. Michael Caruso in as well. There's Will Davison.
He said to you on the grid that, there's things coming, there's things in the pipeline for this car, and they're hoping that as the season progresses, we'll see more of the regular front-running form that they hope for, the kind of form that took Lee Holdsworth to a victory at Winton last year and that saw that man right there have a good run in qualifying at Sydney Olympic Park.
He was giving away a little bit of time in a straight line, and this morning his frustration was that it felt as though it wasn't a bad race car, and that's actually sometimes better to actually go, look, we've got this drama and we need to go after it, but it just overall didn't have sufficient grip and a little bit of rear brake locking as well. So it was a little bit hard to figure out just exactly where the extra performance is going to come from. So they've got some new geometry in mind. The front of the car, they're going to continue their engine development to try and cure some of their straight line questions. And they're expecting to have that new front end in maybe 3 or 4 race meetings' time.
It's not just, for fans of the sport that are following on social media and perhaps asking questions via the hashtag V8SC, that's not just a straight raw horsepower thing, is it either, Neil? It's often the way it delivers the power and how they use it. Drive off the turn is often what you hear the competitors talk about these days as well, the importance of that. Crossed fingers in the Mostert family. Can Chaz, once we get going again, have a shot at Jamie Whincup? The stage is set for a good finish in that regard. Could be time certain as we go to Murph.
Hey guys, Scotty McLaughlin's news goes from bad to worse. Unfortunately, the 33 S60's engine is being pulled as we speak. Another one is being prepared. So the boys under the pump to get this car ready for race 2.
Yeah, the GRM guys reporting on socials that it appears to be an oil pump failure in that 33. That happened, of course, on the warm-up lap. Let's go to Rihanna.
Tim Edwards, this safety car really gives Chaz Mostert a chance to attack at Jamie Whincup.
Oh, yeah, gives him a chance. Also gives Fabian Coulthard a bit of a chance as well. But, yeah, it should be an entertaining couple of laps to the flag.
When Chaz Mostert and Jamie Whincup come together, it really brings about plenty of excitement.
Probably not as much as when Frosty and Jamie come together. But, look, Chaz is doing a great job out there. But, until you get that flag, anything can happen in those final 2 laps.
Thanks, Tim.
Riding with Mostert now. Brand new FGX. How are you liking the sights and sounds of V8 Supercar this season with our new onboards?
If there's an upside in Scott McLaughlin's woes this afternoon. It's the fact that there's a little bit of time to turn that engine around quickly, but it does give rise to the possibility of finger trouble because you've got to rush the job. But they're well accustomed to doing that down there. All of the teams up and down the lane know what it's like to work under pressure, and we've seen the boys at Gary Rogers Motorsport do a phenomenal job in times gone by. But the big point to that is that
McLean this lap, leader to whole speed.
Just listening to Tim, so the lights are out on the Lexus RCF safety car. But what's going to happen here is that Scott McLaughlin is going to have a magnificent tyre bank for the second race this afternoon, and that'll make him pretty racy. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Remember, he's qualified really well for it. He'll have very good tyre condition.
Great example of what you're trying to talk about with Gary Rogers Motorsport, Sydney Motorsport Park last year. Tough Saturday. They turned it round and had a ripper Sunday at that event. We're hearing it may be just one green lap here, but we'll confirm that. We're not confirmed on that. As we get set to restart race one of the Clipsal 500. Whincup leading the way from Mostert. Coulthard, they've reset under the safety car. Do they have an answer for Jamie Whincup?
Okay, so that's a critical confirmation from race management that the leader has commenced the last lap. Time certainty kicks in. Heap of people dipping well into the bank to climb up over the curb there on the run of the restart. So Van Gisbergen down the inside of Holdsworth. Thought about it at the left-hander at 5. So this is basically a qualifying lap now with tyres that have cooled out, pressures that have gone down, so braking performance will be a little bit weird. Balance will be a little bit weird. How basically got huge pressure to stay into the car and push. Watch for the big attack on the inside down here at turn 9. Mostert is shadowing. Whincup is a wake-up. He moves to the right-hand side to cover. That was an opportunity, but he made sure that he blocked.
How good was the Falcon and Fabian Coulthard through the staircase, through those upper sections, and then down into turn 9. Whincup gets a little something here, a little bit of breathing space once again. Is it done? Has Chaz got anything at all in response? Look at the Ford dance under brakes. Final turn, checkered flag on display. This race win for Jamie Whincup draws him level with Slade, second on the all-time list in the Australian Touring Car Championship and V8 Supercar racing history. That is win number 90 in his career.
Awesome drive, man. Congratulations. Well done. That is awesome.
When you look at Mostert's run, obviously he's a relative newcomer to the main game. He only has a 33% finishing rate here at the Clipsal 500. 2 DNFs in 2014. That will go some way to making up for it. That's a terrific result for Mostert. And some great encouraging stuff there for Brad Jones Racing for that new Freightliner backed car of Fabian Coulthard. It's not a new car, but it's a new support for it. And Craig Lowndes inside the top 4 as well. He had a crack. He looked good through sector 2.
Ramp runs on your in-lap, please. So like plugged into third gear, low throttle percentage, down at 100%.
So that's race one of the Clipsal 500, but it's a big afternoon still to come. A chance to regather, regroup, and then we'll do it all again. 39 laps still to come. The big question mark, will McLaughlin be right? Can they get that Volvo out there? Remember, he earned a front row starting spot in qualifying yesterday in the second qualifying session. So that's the story at GRM as we soak up a wonderful moment. 90 career wins for Jamie Whincup, now tied with the man who was inducted into the V8 Supercars Hall of Fame last year, Mark Scaife. The pair of them, second on the all-time list. Pretty special.
He just keeps stacking up the numbers. It is impressive. So moves up to that magic number 90. He's after Craig Lowndes. And, the way he's racking them up at the moment, Rusty, there's a big chance he'll get there in the not-too-distant future.
Exactly.
Remember, his poles have been moved along to 63, and an appreciative crowd enjoying some great motor racing this afternoon. Jamie Whincup getting it done from Mostert, who was on the radio after the flag talking about the engine behaviour in car number 6 and saying he needs the boys to have a look at it. And so Whincup, Mostert and Coulthard excellent performance for Brad Jones Racing, and in particular for Freightliner as their new partner coming in with that team this year.
He's a perfectionist in everything he does in motor racing, and from qualifying through to this, just superb. Got to appreciate it. And this great crowd here in Adelaide, they love this event, they love their motorsport. They appreciate what we're seeing here. Paul Dumbrell won the round in the Dunlop Series. He'll be with Jamie, of course, in the Enduros. One of the many there to congratulate him. Super stuff from Mostert as well with that second place finish.
And an important 75 points straight in the bank. Opening account for a new season. Max points.
No better way to do it, Rihanna.
Jamie Whincup, congratulations. You've opened your 2015 championship season, 2 pole positions, and you take the first win. And that equaled you with Mark Scaife with 90 career wins. Well done.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, obviously the car was fantastic. It was all about getting off the line. Plenty of drama, as you saw. You just want to get going in the new year, you know. You want to get the first race underway. So with the abort, it sort of was hard to keep the concentration. But, yeah, good. I like the fact that they held that safety car back. You know, there's a bit of drama going on. They give it the best opportunity to keep it green. But we went on a safety car, and then it was a bit loose that last lap, as you would have seen.
There you go. Have you got your trophy off the beautiful Clipsal girls, and we'll head over and speak to Chaz Mostert. Congratulations, Chaz. It was all happening all over the place, but a fantastic result for you. Well done.
Yeah, thank you very much. Tried my hardest to go with Jamie, but he's in a bit of his league of his own in that race. So hopefully we can tune it up a little bit and make it a little bit better. And we're in a bad starting spot for the next one, but hopefully tomorrow we'll qualify a bit up the front and try and give him another run.
And some silverware for yourself as well. Fabian Coulthard, third on the podium. Your first ever podium result at the Clipsal 500. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's good. You know, Murph can say to me more often if I've ever had a podium anywhere, because up until here I hadn't had a podium here, but you know, it's good to finally get here. But you know, thanks to all my guys, Lockwood Racing. Good debut for Freightliner, obviously naming right sponsor, so good way to start the year.
Absolutely. And some silverware for yourself. Congratulations to our podium winners for the first race of 2015.
No wonder Roland Dane was smiling for Triple Eight. It's their 12th Clipsal race. Victory in race 1. That equals HRT on the all-time Clipsal record. And those 12 wins have come from the last 20 races. Jamie Whincup does it. Perfect opening to the account. Awesome stuff from Chaz Mostert. James Moffat manages to finish. There were some question marks about that contact with the wall. What impact would it have on the 99? As we go back to Greg Murphy.
Yeah, guys, Lee Holdsworth's having a chat to his engineer, Alex Somerset there, mate. Hey, first drive for WR in the new year was looking like a top 6 there, the last lap, couple of spots.
Yeah, it's disappointing. Yeah, sorry to my boys, sorry to the sponsors and everyone, but it was such a shame because we had such a great car and probably, you know, top 3 car maybe. And yeah, just on those restarts, I noticed, you know, with this new car, I got to learn the tricks, and I'm locking rears when the rears are cold, when the brakes are cold. So, got to learn what to do. Maybe heat them up a little better, and you know, I needed to finish that one off. Would have been nice to finish 6, but like it's a top 10. Still pretty happy, but a little bit disappointed in myself.
Well, the pressure's on in those situations. When you find out there's 1 lap to go, you've got the Giz behind you. He's wanting to make positions as well. You know, you're pushing very hard, and you just say you're trying to find that fine balance.
Yeah, exactly. I knew that I had speed on Frosty in front and even Lowndes, and I tried once on Frosty, locked the rears, and then I was a little bit nervous about making another try, you know, attempt to pass. So I just wanted to get it through the end and keep Cheesy off me. But yeah, that's the way it turned out.
Well, you got another one this afternoon to get ready for. Good luck.
Thanks, buddy. Cheers.
Great work by Lee Holdsworth. As we take a look at the point standings, Neil said it before, opens with the maximum. Jamie Whincup, perfect start for his shot at a 7th championship title. So there was plenty of action, and it started before the race proper even got underway. This for Scott McLaughlin on the warm-up. it would take him out of the race. We'd have to reset and get going once again. So frustrated. Engine change going on and hopeful of making it out for race 2. When we got underway, it was a great start by Jamie Whincup. That vacant spot left on the grid by Scott McLaughlin, who had to simply watch on as a spectator. Coulthard made a great start. That contact with the 99 of James Moffat, super lucky that not to cause any further issues for him as the race unfolded.
Yeah, very strong chance you could damage a hub or have suspension failure when that goes on. There was a drama there for Michael Caruso with a flat. I think there's also been some contact there that triggered that slow stop for James Courtney. Dropped him a bunch of time. Chaz Mostert also wiped the tyre bundle down here at one. Quite a number of drivers did. There's quite a lot of time through turn 1 if you can manage it quickly. In the end, this man did get it done by a nice margin and max points. Just back to the subject of McLaughlin, if you are going to have a drama pre-race and take a hit for it and drop all those points, at least it's fractionalised this afternoon. It's 2 races and the maximum was 75 points. If it's going to happen, you don't want to have it happen tomorrow where there was 150 on offer.
Yeah, good call. Ryan Walkinshaw looking on with Charlie Schwerkolt as Holdsworth had a great run. Winterbottom had some issues after hitting that tyre bundle through the opening chicane that he had to contend with for the rest of the race. Craig Loud's one of the real favourites here, and like many, there's a few curb strikes throughout this race. Terrific start by Coulthard in his partnership, Brad Jones's partnership with Freightliner. Andre Heimgartner, unfortunately, that contact with Wood, and Ash Walsh was an innocent victim.
Just to put a nice full stop and an exclamation to some degree for Jamie Whincup, he also achieved the fastest lap of the race. So started from the pole, disappeared, came home with a cushion, 75 points in the back pocket, and fastest lap.
Electrical issue for Will Davison. Something happened as he came through the centre chicane and it shut everything down. They did their best to reboot, no luck. Davison was sidelined for race 1. So it was a brief moment once the safety car left them and we were able to get underway and racing again. Just the one lap, one flying lap. Mostert gave it his all, looked very strong in the second sector, and we thought he might challenge Whincup for the victory, but in the end Jamie stretched the legs out of 9 and through the final sector to take that special marker. A 90th career win and drawing level with the great Mark Skaife, second on the all-time list.